Hello appraisers, this is Brandon with Spark for Appraisers, and in this Synapse Spotlight video, we're going to be covering feature settings. So to get to feature settings, you click the gear icon, then session settings, and then it's right here. You click feature settings. Now, this is a unique one where the list of feature settings that you have will vary based on what MLS you're in. So everybody will have the following two: lot size settings and feature overrides. Feature overrides we cover in a totally different video, so I'll have a link to that in the description down below. You can go check that out if you're interested, or you can also get to any instructions on how to use any of these setting screens by clicking the gear icon and going to help and clicking instructions. So you can always do that. Let's go ahead and get back into here though. So first I'm going to cover lot size settings since everybody will have that, and we've already covered feature overrides in another video. In lot size settings, it's really straightforward. It's basically whether or not you want Synapse to use square feet when it comes to lot size or acres. So pretty straightforward. When you choose an option, you click done, and it will ask you if you want to save that to your template, and if it's a different setting than what you already have for your template. In my case, it wasn't, so it didn't ask me. But what that means is you can have for certain templates, maybe for rural properties or more complex stuff, larger where you have larger lots, you can set that to acres. But in other templates, maybe where you have it set for tract homes or something, then you can have it set to square feet, whatever your preference is there. All right, so now let's get into the next setting. Now, this one that I'm about to show you is specific to MRED, which is the Chicago MLS. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. So what this does, and it does tell you up here, but basically when the listing in MRED does not provide the GLA for that property, the above grade GLA for that property, then you can have Synapse add up all the room dimensions, because MRED is an MLS where we get the dimensions of every room from the MLS, so we can do the multiplication. Like a bedroom is 10 by 12. We just do that, get 120 square feet, add it to the next room, to the next room. And so you can just have Synapse add up all those rooms. And that's what this checkbox is for. You telling Synapse, yes, add up all the dimensions when the listing doesn't have the above grade GLA. And then you can also add to that calculated GLA by either adding in a percentage or a set square foot amount. And what that means is, for example, if it comes up with a GLA of 2,000 square feet, you can say, you know what, add on 10% for things where we don't have dimensions like hallways or maybe bathrooms. And so you can just add on 10% for that. And I know for many of you in MRED, you do this by hand. So hopefully this is helpful that you can just have Synapse do this. And by the way, if you're using Spark, there's a setting in there to have Spark do it as well. And of course, you can also just add on a set square foot amount if you want to. So that's it. That's how that setting works. Again, remember that one is just in the MRED MLS. Let's go to the next one now. So basement bath settings. This is one that is only in 6 or 7 different MLS systems, and MRED is one of those. So what happens is if you're in an MLS where all the MLS tells us is whether there's a basement in the bathroom, but it doesn't say whether it's a full or a half bath, then you can set up a default for Synapse to calculate those as full baths or half baths. So in these MLS systems, we might get that there's 2 bathrooms in the basement, but we don't know if they're full or half or a combination, and you can just set this as a default. So if you're in an area where pretty much they're all full baths or they're all half baths, then you can use this option. Otherwise, you can just have it set to not count those. That way you don't have anything inaccurate in the calculations. So I can set that to full baths, hit done, and be good if I want to. And now let's get into the last one, which was basement area settings. Now, what I'm about to show you, and this is a little unique, is this option exists in 8 different MLS systems, but in 7 of those, it's different than MRED. So MRED is unique. So what I'm about to show you, again, just like GLA, is unique specifically to MRED, again, the Chicago MLS. So first of all, in this MLS, we don't get basement area, but you can have Synapse calculate the total basement area when there's a full basement. So if it's a full basement, we know that, but we don't know the size, then what you can do is you can have Synapse add up all the room sizes on the first floor, and you can make that the same square footage as the total basement area. and it explains it all right here. And then of course you can, just like in the GLA settings I showed you, you can add on a specific percentage or a certain number of square feet to that to account for things that might not be in the basement room dimensions. Hopefully that makes sense. And then for finished basement area, you can have Synapse add up the size of all the rooms in the basement, and that will be the finished basement area. And then of course, just like the others, you can add on a certain percentage or a certain square feet to that. So just as an example, in MRED, we might get that there are 3 rooms in the basement. It tells us the dimensions of those rooms. So we do the basic math, find out the size of each room, add them together, and then you can tack on a certain percentage. So in this example, I'm adding on 10% to whatever that number is for the finished basement area. Okay, now last, I want to show you the same settings, but in the other 7 MLSs. So if you're in one of those other MLSs where we don't get the basement area, then, or the basement area is unknown, you can have Synapse calculate it based on the number of stories and a certain percentage. So let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, so the way this setting works for Bright and the other 6 MLS systems where we have this option is it will look to see if there is a full basement. And if there is, and the listing does not provide the basement size, then you can have Synapse calculate that basement size based on the number of stories that there is and a percentage of the GLA. So just to show you, first of all, you turn this setting on by checking this box. If you don't want those, you just uncheck it, and then Synapse will just leave it alone and leave it as empty, and we won't know the basement size. But if you want to use this, and I know a lot of you are using this in Spark, for example, then you can just check that box. And then right here it says for 1-story properties, what percentage of the total GLA do you want to use as the total basement area? And I want to use 100%. So that means the total GLA of this property, let's say it's 2,000 square feet. If it's a single-story home, then it will say that the total basement area is 2,000 square feet. Now, if it was a 2-story property, and there's a full basement, then this 50% means that if it's 2,000 square feet for above grade GLA, then it's going to say that the total basement area is 1,000 square feet because I have it set to 50% and so on. So you can set these to whatever you want them to be. We went kind of crazy here all the way up to 5 stories. If you don't ever, I don't even know if many of you have properties with this number of stories, but if you're ever hesitant and you just don't want Synapse to calculate it for these ones, you can just change those to zeros and just leave the 1 and 2 story how they are. However you want to do it, that's fine. And again, you can, let's hit done here. Don't want to save it. And we can click the gear icon and help and go to instructions if you ever want to see the actual text instructions for that. So I can just click in here, go find the settings screen that I'm interested in, and then look at the instructions there. All right, thanks everybody for watching.